Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. My name is Laura from Shamanic Self, and today I want to talk about the Twin Flames Universe cult and pretty much everything that's kind of going into it at this point. So we're going to dive into this topic. If you're following this channel or similar channels, we all know, including you, everyone who's watching, so we all know what it feels like to come from an actual cult, I'm assuming, and to wake up to the reality of what is really going on. Obviously, the New Age is one of those cults, and the entire Twin Flame universe, what they're promoting, is a part of it, unfortunately, as well. So Twin Flames universe got exposed majorly over this past month. This is when I'm recording it in the fall of 2023. They did have a lot of backlash already in 2020, possibly earlier, but that's when one of the larger articles came out in regards to them. And so Netflix actually did this documentary on them. It was done by Hines, who's a journalist. She's based here in New York City too. And she had been doing her work from 2020 on, pretty much. So a lot of scenes that you see are from the past 3 years. And so what's really going on? So you see this Netflix trailer right here. You see these two, which are Jeff and Shalia, the founders, supposed twin flames, and they found to each other. I don't even know if it was 2013 or 2015 at one point during that time. As you'll see, because I want to go through a few notes, I saw this documentary. It was actually available on other things too. So you can see it on Netflix, or you can see it on Amazon Prime at this point as well. I'm pretty sure you can see it on other outlets as well. It's a pretty interesting one. I actually watched all 3 seasons because I was really interested in what was really going on with this group. I had been familiar with them because I actually do have at least one acquaintance who was a part of their Facebook group. And everything she was sharing sounded so brainwashed to me. So I was friends with her on social media. Everything she was sharing from this group, including screenshots of, whatever they were putting in there, like, oh, yes, your true twin flame would do this and this and whatever. It just sounded so brainwashed to me that it really kind of got my curiosity piqued. And I was like, okay, I really wonder what's going on. And then this documentary came out. It has 3 episodes, and they're all around 40-ish minutes. The last one's around 50 minutes. The first 2 are really jam-packed, and then the third one kind of brings it all together. So I made notes while I was watching this episode. You do have this trailer right here, which you can see here on YouTube. As you can tell, it came out about a month ago. And you basically just see all these people. I mean, let's kind of switch over to the founders. If the screen is, I guess it's not permitting us to do that. Here's one of the founders. So, I mean, it's pretty out there. The trailer already gives you a lot. But yeah, basically, I just want to share the notes that I made on this, just because I feel this is really a topic that's really relevant for some people, at least. And it just kind of shows the entire cult-like brainwashing that goes into this subject matter, and that's very much related to New Age, because these 2 clowns started off with New Age things. They didn't even start off with this entire twin flame concept. Like, they started off with wanting to coach people on New Age techniques, and then that didn't really work, so they had to think about something else. So the entire twin flame concept came about. So Escaping Twin Flames is the documentary, and this is one of the articles. Really love this here. Weird cult crap. So yeah, what exactly is going on? So I want to share episode 1 with you. What it's really about is that things just gathering from all the people who were interviewed and who were actually wanting to speak out against them, because a lot of them seem to have been very intimidated by the founders. One of the founders, which is Jeff, the guy, he seems to have this hypnotic stare going on, which he kind of perfected with quantum hypnosis techniques too. And so he seems to even have like some weird hypnosis techniques going on that reach through the screen, even, so that certain members were just too intimidated to even speak out against them. But it appears over time, things just became more and more crazy. And it appears that he, meaning Jeff, was demonstrating to have control over the group, whoever was part of these classes. It also seems that he first had shorter hair, and then his hair turned longer and longer into the Jesus hair, which if you look at so many people, including Russell Brand, including a lot of other people who are in the new cage, their hair all of a sudden just turns longer and longer to resemble a Jesus version because they want to become a Jesus or a savior for all these people. So not surprising, it's the case with him too. They would basically just sit and pick apart the trauma and get off on it, is what some people said. They were also coercing people to change their gender. And I found this very concerning and also very interesting when I actually heard this, because this was a little bit new to me. We have heard about people being coerced to do certain things or even have suicidal thoughts. You definitely, I had this video on Lisa Renee, which has been blowing up lately. Like with her, I think with her, some people commented or emailed me even saying like some people had suicidal thoughts after her teachings. And so this is coming directly from members of her group. For sure, also this other girl who calls herself, I can't remember the name. It's something like, when I remember the name, I'll tell you guys. She might be up for a review again, but people have reached out that some of these new age gurus are for sure implanting like these suicidal thoughts and thoughts of hopelessness into people somehow. But coercing and trying to incite them to change their gender, that's pretty out there. And I think this is also why this case in particular is a little bit different from the other new age cults that are out there. So they're basically writing off of this concept of unrequited love, people wanting to find their soulmates. And in today's world, the dating world has been turned all upside down, right? People are trying to find a spiritual connection beyond all of this. And this is when the concept of twin flames and soulmates and all of this comes in. Now, Jeff and Shalia, or Jeff in specific, already had this book called Finding Your Ultimate Lover. So they're really writing off of this concept of love, love, love. And then their courses started at something like 1,111 or more, which is quite a lot, as some have said already too. Like some people who were part of these courses actually went into debt to afford these type of courses. There was this adoration around the founders from their cult members. People were searching for a greater meaning in their lives, and Twin Flames Universe responded to that by supposedly giving that to them. What could be a greater meaning than, finding your supposed other piece of your soul, or you being on a mission to kind of get into union with that. So it's a concept that's really being enforced by a lot of other people too, but they just kind of took it to the next level, let's put it that way. It also seemed, from my understanding, because a lot of people were interviewed and they were saying they always had this childhood issue or trauma going on. This group in specific attracted people with trauma, growing up with trauma, abuse, etc. So it's very similar to all these other new age things where actual trauma victims get sucked into all these concepts. If you look at my review of Lori Ladd, I'm literally saying at one point, this woman is just infested with trauma. She doesn't even know what a safe environment looks like or what a safe life looks like. So obviously she is going to attract those type of people. And so it's similar to the Twin Flames Universe cult. Jeff and Shalia first seemed like regular runoffs, like run off the mill influencers with a spiritual new age spin. But their videos seem to have struck a chord with someone on the internet, because all of a sudden their videos gained up to 100K views. A lot of their teachings were based on self-development, healing yourself, and then the ultimate power partner would follow, of course. How couldn't it, right? Like that's always the best part. Are you going to have your happy ending no matter what? So it started with the Facebook group, where as soon as the reporter Hines joined, she was being love bombed by other members, by all these other cult members. And then they started with their entire Ascension School, which is part of their program. So take your journey to the next step, and you can spend up to $9,000 US dollars on this school, right? So it's basically like a real life therapy session in this reality setting, but it's just like done through Zoom with people who don't have any type of certifications in therapy, in psychology, in psychiatry, in coaching, in anything really. And one person even said, so she was a trans member. She didn't turn trans because of the group. She was already like a trans member beforehand. that she had very weird dreams about this person, about the person who she thought was her twin flame or whatever. And as soon as she said that, because they were really on her, being like, oh yeah, you definitely have to reach out to him, do this and that. As soon as she said she had weird dreams about this person, the moment she joined the group, the first idea that popped into my head was like, well, she probably had implants. They're putting these energetic, etheric implants in their members so that they get even more addicted to whoever person it is that they think they want to be in union with or have a relationship with. She was then asked if she stalks him in real life or the internet, and she was actually encouraged to have this union with a complete stranger by the founders. So you kind of have to envision that they're all sitting on the Zoom call somehow. They have these classes. I think from what I gathered, it was at least once a week or once a month or once every other week. I don't even know. So they pay a whole bunch of money just to have random Zoom meetings for an hour long with these. Yeah, I mean, basically you're a trauma victim and you're having it with your abuser, basically, to such a degree where the person even laughs in your face or calls you crazy or calls you all these things, and you're still a member of the group. So in one of those sessions, like, she was literally incited by either Jeff, most likely Jeff, because Shalia doesn't really speak a whole lot in those settings, from my understanding, that, oh yeah, you definitely have to stalk your person, and this is certainly your person and everything. It's like twin flame universe is like this new age spirituality. And the reason that it struck a chord with the audience is because that's how millennials kind of relate in dating. And so this entire concept of, combining spirituality with love and all of that, it definitely appeals to a certain generation. Although it does seem there were people of mixed generations, like even Generation X and baby boomers in that group and younger than millennials. But yeah, it's certainly a thing, right? Like, once you get sucked into this new age thing, you want to find more of a purpose with love as well. And that's what they were writing off of. The founders said they have all the answers and can fix all your problems, but they literally just seem like regular people. If you kind of look at them, if you see other pictures of them, they really just seem, first of all, Shalia is really overweight too. Like, there's nothing healthy about their lifestyle, really. He just looks crazier and crazier from every transformation that you see him. Like, he starts off with a very short-haired boy, basically, and then he kind of regresses into this lunatic looking Jesus caricature or whatever. So yeah, it was a bit interesting to see his transformation through the years that she actually put it together in the documentary. There was a former friend and also a girlfriend of Jeff saying he was completely enarmoring, completely charismatic, etc. when they grew up with him already. So everyone was enamored by him. Typical cult leader characteristics, in my opinion. The charisma, the charm to kind of draw you in no matter what the topic is. So it's really not surprising that these type of people turn into cult leaders. Jeff actually started as a travel blogger and a life coach when he was around 23, 24, 25. He certainly had a few name changes in his business, but it does seem he was always into this entire new cage stuff. He also started off living in Hawaii, and Shalia, her original name's actually Megan Plant, which that doesn't sound spiritual enough, supposedly, so she had to change it to Shalia. She was raised Catholic in Canada. She completely fell for this entire, twin flame concept, and was completely taken over by Jeff once they met. From my understanding, they kind of met online or through mutual friends somehow online. So when they first met, which was around 10 years ago, or like 2013, 2015, it said it in the documentary somewhere, the two first started blogging about sex, and both changed a lot after meeting each other. So they were basically just blogging about this thing that was a bit of a taboo. People having dysfunctional relationships with romance, broken relationships. So it's kind of like the business of coming into harmonious union, which they really turned that into their business concept. They're not just matchmakers, but they promise romance. It's like this false promise that they're giving with their group. And it's also kind of writing off of this thing that, society is implying your life is incomplete without love or without a partner, right? And so it's a form of programming a lot of people already go through. Oh, if you're of a certain age, you don't have a family, you don't have children, you don't have a partner. No matter how successful you are in your career, you're still incomplete somehow. That's really what certain cultures or societies or the media wants to throw at us. So it's a programming that all of us already kind of under from a very early age on. And you really have to unprogram yourself from that and really go through those notions, be like, well, why is it that I really want this relationship? Is it just because I'm lonely? Is it because I really like this person? Or is it because my parents told me it's time to get married and have children, right? So these two basically took it to the next level, the entire pressure that some people already feel, and turned it into the next cult level, basically. None of these are certified life coaches. None of the founders, these two founders are. And then of course, what they were saying is you can only have your harmonious union once you've cleared yourself. So this harmonious union with your partner, with your divine counterpart, whatever they call that, it comes with conditions, which is already like, okay, so that's not very spiritual really. Because if there's a condition attached to that, that doesn't really measure up to the unconditional love that you're supposed to have in that situation, right? People were encouraged to cross each other's boundaries with Twin Flame Universe. That you need to pursue this person, you need to take action, like especially because it appears 90% of the people who were part of this group were female or women, at least identified as women at that point. It seemed like, especially for women, they were supposed to chase their divine counterpart, which was usually a man. So they need to take action. They need to actually send this text message to your person. And, you know, we all know, I know the traditional dating roles don't really apply in that sense, but just talking to men in general, usually it's more the role of a man to pursue someone or something. And we all know if a man's not really pursuing you, he's most likely not interested. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just how people function. And so women trying to chase a man who most likely isn't even that interested to begin with, to me personally, is already completely like that. I think that's what everything that's wrong in our society nowadays, no matter if we are here in the US, if we are in UK, if we are in any other westernized country, it's like just certain things, certain gender roles that we have completely forgotten about. But maybe that belongs into a different video, because I do have to say, when you actually go to more traditional countries and you see more traditional things, it gets very clear how the media has programmed us specifically in all these westernized areas to be more independent as women, to be this and that, when really all it's doing is kind of drawing you further away from the person that you want to be with. So the energy was there to be more of the aggressor. People were stalking their twin flame or whoever that person of interest was. But they were even encouraged to send them nudes. I mean, okay, so just seeing this from a guy's perspective, if a woman sends you nudes, are you seriously gonna, I mean, I don't need an answer to it. I already know how serious you're gonna take that woman. If that woman's not your girlfriend, I already know the answer to that. And the answer is not very positive. So pretty much every single advice they were giving these people, I felt was just kind of drawing them further away from whatever person they were interested in, sending them aggressive texts. And Jeff in specific was using humor to disguise all of this, because otherwise he wouldn't have gotten away with it. You know, if he would have been like dead serious. No, he was being like a little class clown, like he probably was from an early age on. And then one woman even had her person filed a restraining order against her, and I think she even spent some time in jail. I don't know if it was like 60 days or a month or so for stalking. I'm like, wow, that's pretty intense that people actually took it that far. Moving on to like episode 2, Jeff appeared to have changed a lot. They started acting more immature as well, and they used a lot of vocabulary. Like they used a lot of these new age vocabulary of the upset. If you have an upset, then this and this and that, you know. So he also gave some really deranged advice to others, such as, oh, dissolve that marriage. And one person actually goes to jail for a restraining order on the advice that he gave her. So people seem to have listened to Jeff and Shalia's advice more than their friends' advice, because Twin Flames Universe was advertising that they have this direct channel to God, which already debunked this entire, it's a new age thing. And I don't know when this came about, but I did notice more and more around 2020 and on that you would see these posts pop up on Instagram specifically from all these new cages who were like, I'm a channel of God. And so whatever they were saying came directly from God. And I already debunked that. I think it was last year or the year before, on my own Instagram, where I was like, whoever says they have a channel of God, complete nonsense. We all have this channel to whoever we think created us, or to source, whatever you even want to name that. Because God is just, I mean, there are several different gods. God in and of itself could be an entity, could be like different things. But whoever the creator or the creation we came from, we all have that direct connection. Unless you don't have a soul, then that's different. So this entire having direct channel to God, it makes sense that they're writing off of it, because they have to have some sort of credibility, especially with the aggressive advice that they're giving. They're saying to pursue married people or people in a relationship. And then always this mirror exercise, which is basically just do your inner work, blah, blah, blah. Everything around you is basically just this mirror reflection, which it really isn't. But your response to that could feed into that. And so that might be a concept for a different video too. Don't really want to mention it in this one. So the mirror exercise, my one acquaintance, online acquaintance who's part of this group, she really talks about it almost nonstop. And after watching this documentary, I really understand better how it puts a victim who's already in trauma response and who's experienced a lot of trauma in their life, how it puts them even into more trauma or more ways to make themselves feel guilty about themselves. And the person who's following this group, mind you, she's already in her 50s. She was basically almost homeless a year ago. She lives on a different continent, but also a westernized country, by the way. And she's had such a crappy life. Like ever since she started following this group, I feel it's gone even more to hell. Yeah, like I said, she's already of a more advanced age, can't afford her own living situation, lives with roommates at this point, which, mind you, like you just got to do what you got to do. I get that, especially if you don't have any type of backing behind you. I know 2020 was really rough for a lot of people, but she was literally almost homeless a year ago, because that's when I was already following her. She had like the worst attacks from people around her, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was even made worse through being a part of this group, because who knows what type of entities this group calls upon them. I mean, they're already saying direct channel to God. They're probably calling upon a pretty powerful entity that's ruining a lot of people's lives, is what I'm thinking. They were then building a team of coaches and recruiting more coaches. And this program was like a $2,200 program. You have to watch a video series first. So basically, Jeff and Shalia were just going through one business idea after another. In the beginning, before they formed this group, they were like spiritual. They had the spiritual healing thing where they were claiming they could cure illnesses, headaches, even cancer. And then a friend, this is back in 2015, a friend of him got really upset because he grew up with Jeff, and back in the days, his mother, like the friend's mother, died of cancer, and Jeff didn't heal anyone, and so he got really upset. He was like, you're manipulating people, like he called them out just like that. And none of these friends are friends with them in real life anymore, which is also why you see them in the documentary. So basically their business is manipulating people. Twin Flame Universe kept on attracting childhood trauma victims, people who are looking to heal and who want answers, but you just have to pay all this money for it. I believe 111 every month was like the cheapest class of that month. Members were doing sales and marketing and even putting up their website for free. So the group grew rapidly due to that. So it's not like it grew rapidly because of Jeff and Shalia and their charismatic appearance. No, it grew rapidly because they were recruiting all these brainwashed members who were building up everything for them. They were building up marketing techniques, they were building up their website, like everything, and they didn't even pay them. From 2015 to 2017, Jeff and Shalia were living with family and friends. They were basically just couch surfing from one house to another because their family first had enough of them, then their friend had enough of them, and yeah, it was pretty sad to actually hear that from the people who were speaking in the documentary. They then moved into their own home. And then from the moment they blew up, they seemed very materialistic. They basically went from this rat hole apartment in Detroit to the rich people's club, bought a Porsche, became multimillionaires. The more money, the more control. Kind of reminds you of Phil Good and Elizabeth April and also Shannon Blake, who I all kind of reviewed on this channel. With Phil Good in specific, I just remember he had the crappiest place ever somewhere in LA. And then in 2019, he was all of a sudden giving this elaborate tour of his $3,000 or $4,000 apartment per month in Los Angeles. And he was saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I was able to leave that crappy place behind and I now live here." It had like his own pool and doorman, whatever there. And I'm like, wow, this is really what it's about with these new cages. It's just about the money. And yeah, you can really see that with these type of people, right? They kind of like fly. I mean, even if you have made it, you don't have to show these things on social media, right? You don't have to flaunt your apartments with your private pool or whatever. It's like, what's the point of that? Like, you're kind of just debunking the entire thing that you're preaching about. So all the wealth, once they thought they've made it, and then they obviously get trapped by that too. Jeff had studied a form of hypnosis, and he was doing it on people. He was blaming victims of abuse for their own abuse, so very disturbing, and basically just setting them up for further trauma. People were actually beginning to question if this program was working on them. So halfway through, a few years in, it seemed like a lot of these members were just going in circles with this mirror exercise bullshit. No one was really getting results or even being in union with whoever they thought their person was. So Jeff and Shalia started matchmaking to demonstrate results. And all of a sudden you had like these 7 new couples that were their own members. And they basically turned women lesbian. And even though they themselves, I mean, this is the weirdest part ever, because supposedly Jeff and Shalia are these twin flames or whatever. Even though they themselves were together for this entire time, all of a sudden they were disregarding that you can only have one twin flame in your lifetime. So they were kind of claiming with these other people, oh no, whoever you thought your person was, that's not your person. Now this person in this group is your person. So it just started getting more and more absurd. There was also this God element, especially with Jeff. Oh, God knows best, and you don't know yourself best, is basically what he was saying. Telling their members to surrender to God, since Jeff was that channel of God or Jesus incarnation, and only he knows best. Around that time, which was around 2020, the Vice article came out, and there was a lot of criticism from ex-members exploiting. They were basically saying they were being exploited for financial gain and being isolated from their friends and family. And so in this last episode, it really is revealed how Jeff thinks he's Christ. He has beard, the hair, the blue eyes, whatever. He literally thought he was the second coming. And Hines, which is the journalist, was saying, I think Jeff and Shalia are dangerous. If you're looking to them for help, then they are even more dangerous. And basically in 5 years, they moved from crashing on people's couches to their own lakefront property. They were having couples living in their basements. They were calling this a spiritual boot camp, who were then gender converted. So there was this woman living with this other woman, and none of these people had been like gay beforehand, but this woman was turned into a guy. And these people were providing, that's like a gender transformation. These people were providing free labor for Jeff. They were also living there, cooking, everything. It was kind of like a mechanism of control. And people were pressured into transitioning. People were claiming they were being brainwashed, being part of a cult. They were tricking them out of their money. And so I think at one point, even the police came and investigated. Which is pretty serious, I think. I mean, if you're already accused of all these things and then the cops even stop by, I mean, that's like, wow, okay. Maybe I should change my business concept at this point. Their income, hold on. They were really trying to push the gender change onto a lesbian couple who were already kind of like together before they even joined the group. And this couple turned out to be coaches as well. So they had given up their regular jobs to be coaches with Twin Flames Universe. So they were really dependent upon the income because the income was all coming through this group somehow. And so Jeff and Shalia were really abusive towards them and then removed them from their group and income overnight, basically. And Jeff was saying, if you attack the Master Christ, you will get 10 lifetimes in exile. So this is how high and mighty these new cagers, including these people, are. If you ever doubt them or whatever, you're going to reincarnate as an autistic person, or you're going to reincarnate as a handicapped person next. Like, that's literally what he wrote in a few of these emails. And so one of them is, you will get 10 lifetimes in exile. And I mean, just envisioning how people still don't wake up after this is just really mind-blowing to me. The own father and childhood friends of this Megan Plant, Shalia, did not even recognize her anymore. And basically her father said, to me, she's dead and she's a different person at this point, which kind of also made me wonder, maybe there was a walk-in with the Shalia person, because she probably called upon a whole bunch of entities. She was always into the spiritual stuff from an early age on. And yeah, like literally, like after an article saying to members, so I don't know if it was Jeff, it probably was Jeff, one of these two clowns were saying, I hope you get Down syndrome in your next lifetime, after the members were leaving Twin Flames Universe and other hurtful things. It's basically just an organization to control your mind and allow you to do it. People looking at spirituality as their new religion because they want a meaning and purpose in their life, and institutionalized religion is dying out, so that's the new religion. Which kind of leads me to a video that I want to make in the future. What is spirituality really? And how did the New Age hijack that? But so far, these are the thoughts that I have on Twin Flames Universe and just kind of the notes that I made when watching all 3 episodes of this documentary. I really liked how it was put together and how it was kind of shown how people were being brainwashed. So if you haven't seen it yet, if you have access to watch it, I would say definitely go for it, because it basically shows you everything about the New Age as well. One thing that really stuck to me was how this one girl was really being isolated from everyone, like her family, her aunt, her mother, her, like everyone who was really worried about her. And how when she came home, she was even barely able to really talk to them because she was so traumatized from this entire group experience that she had had with them for a few years on. So there's a lot of damage that's being done onto people with these type of things. And if you have any thoughts or comments, or if you've seen it yourself, definitely comment below. And yeah, I hope this helped a little bit to show you what's going on, how these people operate. Like I already said, my one acquaintance, she literally went through hell. And I'm not saying it's just because of this group, because I know she's also into other New Age stuff, like this entire, you know, just like this entire, oh yeah, I'm better because I have incarnations on other planets, and who even knows, this entire agenda that the New Age is pushing. But I do want to say her life has not really been great, and she's still quoting a lot of things that she finds in this group specifically. But it's just the brainwashing that people don't realize until maybe they really do hit rock bottom. And for some people who were part of this group, they hit rock bottom, so they were able to get away from that. But yet this group still attracts 40,000 plus people, or it still has the $40,000 members, probably equivalent to who knows, millions of dollars. So it's still concerning that people are still falling for it. And I do think we need more documentaries on this, especially from journalists who are very objective, because the journalist who did it, she was never into the New Age. She was never into yoga. She was never into any of this. She was literally just observing it from a very objective standpoint. So I do think we need more of that, and definitely more articles and everything around this too. All right, guys, have a wonderful one. Subscribe to this channel if you're new. More reviews coming up. Comment below who you want to review next. And until then, bye.